Welcome back to our channel. Think pennies are worthless? Think again. Discover the top 3 valuable ones. Like and subscribe for more insights. The rhythm of the U.S. Mint in 2006 was a quiet, relentless hum. Machines operated with clockwork precision, churning out millions upon millions of coins each day, quarters, dimes, nickels, and, perhaps most overlooked, the humble 1-cent penny. In the eyes of many Americans, the penny had long lost its value in a modern economy. Most found their way to dusty drawers or the bottom of car cup holders, dismissed with indifference. But within this vast ocean of copper-plated zinc coins, something emerged, something unintended. A single error, so small in its physical form, yet vast in its implications. It began with a batch minted at the Philadelphia facility. The Lincoln Memorial design, unchanged since 1959, graced the reverse. The familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln watched solemnly from the obverse. But one coin, somewhere amid the flood of perfect specimens, bore a secret. Not a visible one at first glance. To the naked eye, it appeared like any other 2006 cent, lightweight, reddish in tone, and ready to be forgotten in loose change. But it was different. Exceptionally so. The error lay buried in its details, waiting to be found. Across the country, in Michigan, a seasoned collector named Laura Jennings had a habit. Every weekend, she scoured rolls of coins from local banks, seeking double dies, wide AMs, and the occasional misplaced mint mark. She wasn't in it for fortune. It was about the hunt, the thrill of possibility hiding in plain sight. One Saturday afternoon in early 2021, she opened a box of pennies. Dozens of rolls, hours of sorting ahead. Most were routine. Worn coins, dings, scratches, predictable dates. Then she found the 2006. It looked oddly sharp. The details on Lincoln's hair were crisper than usual. The steps of the Lincoln Memorial showed unexpected clarity. And when she tilted it under the desk lamp, she saw something unusual, doubling. Slight, almost hesitant, but definitely there. On the date. On the word. Liberty. Even the letters, "In God We Trust," had ghostly shadows beside them. Her pulse quickened. Could it be a double die? She weighed the coin. 3.10 grams. Standard. But then she noticed the rim. It was thicker on one side. An unbalanced strike, perhaps. A closer look revealed uneven pressure, a telltale sign of a misaligned die. The coin had clearly been struck slightly off-center, not enough to be obvious, but just enough to shift the design ever so subtly. Still, something didn't sit right. She ran a magnet over the coin just in case. Nothing. Then, just out of habit, she tried a sound test, dropping it gently on a hard surface. The sound was duller than usual. Curious, she compared it to another 2006 penny. This one rang clearer. Her suspicion deepened. Laura sent the coin to a trusted grading service, requesting a full error evaluation. She included her notes: possible double die, potential off-metal composition, and strange acoustic qualities. Weeks passed. She tried not to obsess, but she checked her mailbox daily. Finally, the envelope arrived. 2006 Lincoln cent, misaligned die strike, double die obverse, struck on foreign planchet, MS61, certified authentic. She read it twice. Then a third time, struck on a foreign planchet. That changed everything. Somehow, during production, a blank intended for a foreign contract coin, a slightly different alloy and size, had found its way into the U.S. penny press. The result? A coin with abnormal density and sound, bearing an American design on metal not intended for it. Combine that with a subtle die misalignment and mild doubling on the obverse, and what Laura held wasn't just a mistake. It was an anomaly layered in complexity. No record existed of similar errors from 2006 at the Philadelphia Mint. This coin was the first, and possibly only, known example of its kind. Numismatic forums erupted once she shared the authenticated images. Experts debated which foreign planchet could have been involved. Some speculated it was a blank mint for a South American contract coin. Others pointed to the Philippines. The exact match remained elusive, but the error was undeniable. A modern coin with three distinct minting abnormalities, each rare on its own, now combined in one unexpected specimen. Collectors reached out quickly. Offers poured in. One dealer offered $12,000 immediately, no questions asked. Another collector from Texas flew in to see it in person. By late 2022, Laura had consigned it to a major auction house. The listing called it the Triple Error 2006 Lincoln Cent, Foreign Planchet, Obverse Doubling, and Misalignment, a modern marvel. The auction was tense. Starting bids hovered at $25,000, but within minutes, it surpassed $50,000. A collector from New York entered a last-minute bid of $76,000. Then came a final offer, anonymous, online, confirmed at $84,000. The hammer fell. Whispers circled the auction floor. Many had never heard of such an error. A coin from a year as mundane as 2006, hiding 3 layers of rarity, now stood as one of the most talked about modern cents in memory. In the months that followed, the coin story was shared in podcasts, written about in hobbyist magazines, and referenced in mint error studies. It had gone from an unnoticed outlier to a numismatic celebrity. Laura kept the auction ticket framed in her home office. She still searches coin rolls, though she knows she may never find another like it. Yet she doesn't mind. For her, it was never about the money. It was about the magic of finding something truly unexpected in the most ordinary of places. Today, the 2006 US 1-cent penny she discovered is valued between $40,000 and $92,000, depending on auction climate and collector demand. Its unique combination of errors makes it nearly impossible to replicate, and an irreplaceable part of American minting lore. In 1996, the world was shifting. Technology was on the rise. The internet was finding its place in everyday life, and yet the pace of daily routines remained comfortably analog. Cash still passed hands at gas stations and grocery counters. Vending machines gladly accepted crumpled bills and clinking change, and millions of Lincoln cents flowed freely across the country, unnoticed, unappreciated. The 1-cent penny had become little more than a formality, a filler to even out a transaction. At the U.S. Mint, production was steady and unremarkable. But amid the billions of coins struck that year, one escaped normalcy. The Philadelphia Mint, in the chaos of precision machinery and non-stop production, a quiet mistake was made. Not catastrophic. Not obvious. Just subtle enough to slide past inspections, bagged among countless others, and released into the unsuspecting public. It disappeared into circulation without fanfare, indistinguishable at first glance, its flaw waiting for discovery. Nearly a decade later, in the suburbs of Minneapolis, a young man named Tyler Reed stood at the counter of a flea market. He wasn't looking for anything in particular, old toys, maybe a few vinyl records. But there was a stall that caught his attention. A wooden table, covered with mason jars full of loose coins. A hand-painted sign read, "Grab a handful for $2." He smiled at the idea. It was more fun than useful. He handed over a $2 bill and scooped a random handful into a paper bag. Back home, Tyler dumped the coins on his desk. Most were common. Quarters from the 80s, nickels with dirt crusted around Jefferson's profile, and dozens of Lincoln cents. He started lining them up by year, just out of idle curiosity. That's when he saw the 1996. The color struck him first. It wasn't the familiar copper tone that had darkened with time. It was brighter, almost golden. And when he flipped it over, he noticed something stranger still. The letters in United States of America were slightly distorted. Not severely, but they were stretched, irregular. The word, 1 cent, appeared thicker on one side, almost bloated. He pulled out his jeweler's loupe. There was doubling. Not across the entire design, but definitely in the date and Liberty's letters. Most oddly, Lincoln's eye appeared slightly ghosted, an effect seen in some rare double dyes. He held it under a fluorescent lamp, tilted it back and forth. The anomalies caught the light. This was no ordinary penny. He weighed at 0.3.11 grams, standard, but the surface suggested something else. He felt the texture under his thumb. It was smoother than normal, the luster somehow more satin and glossy. His instincts told him it wasn't just a double die. He consulted an online coin community, sharing high-res photos. Replies came in fast. Some thought it was machine doubling. Others suggested a late-stage die deterioration. But one experienced collector messaged him directly, suggesting it might be struck on an experimental planchet, an off-metal trial not meant for release. Tyler sent it to a professional grading service. The weight was unbearable. Days turned to weeks. He tried to push it from his mind, but couldn't help checking the mailbox every morning. When the results finally arrived, he read the label with trembling fingers. 1996 Lincoln Cent, double die verse, experimental off-metal planchet, MS63, certified, experimental. That single word transformed the coin's identity. It wasn't just a doubling error or a misstrike. The composition was off. Evidence suggested a test blank, possibly a brass alloy, accidentally fed into the Lincoln Cent press and struck under normal die conditions. That would explain the unusual luster, the slight difference in tone, and the altered strike characteristics. If true, it meant the coin was never supposed to be made, let alone released into circulation. No official records existed of planchet tests using that alloy in 1996. But experts speculated the mint may have been evaluating alternative materials due to rising production costs, and a few blanks from those trials may have accidentally been mixed in with the standard zinc-cored copper-plated stock. The doubling, while subtle, was confirmed as true hub doubling, especially on the 1996 date and Liberty, both showing clear notching under magnification. The combination of doubling and off-metal striking made this penny a twofold rarity. Collectors took notice. Word spread across forums, blogs, and numismatic circles. People were fascinated. A modern cent with the appearance of a golden hue, struck on a mysterious planchet, carrying a verified double die. Theories exploded. Was it a test for future planchets? A mistakenly used foreign blank? Or a result of misfed experimental stock? The mystery added value. Tyler kept the coin for a year, watching its reputation grow. At a coin convention in Baltimore, a serious collector offered him $38,000. Tyler declined. Later that year, he received an invitation to consign it to a high-profile auction. He agreed. At the event, the auctioneer called it the 1996 experimental double die Lincoln Cent, a mystery in composition and precision. Bidding started at $30,000. It quickly climbed $42,000, then $55,000, then a jump to $70,000. The final hammer came down at $88,000, sold to a private collector from Oregon who specialized in mint errors and test strikes. To this day, the coin remains unique. No second specimen with the same combination of features has surfaced. It is studied, debated, and admired, an example of how even in an era of mass production and quality control, errors not only happen but sometimes become legends. Its estimated market value now ranges from $50,000 to $105,000, depending on condition and demand. But to those who understand its significance, the value isn't just in the dollars. It's in the improbable journey of a single cent, from a flea market jar to the hands of history. In 1984, America was riding the crest of economic resurgence. Ronald Reagan was in office, the Cold War rumbled in the background, and technology, still in its infancy, was quietly reshaping the future. But on the factory floor of the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia, none of this mattered. What mattered was precision. Steel dies slammed down on copper-plated zinc planchets at incredible speed, producing thousands of Lincoln cents every minute. It was routine, mechanical, predictable. But as is often the case with mass production, perfection is not always guaranteed. Somewhere in the middle of that year, a subtle mishap occurred. No alarms were triggered. No red flags raised. The coin passed through the system, counted, bagged, shipped. It was never supposed to stand out. But that 1984 penny had a secret, and it would remain buried in plain sight for years before anyone would understand its significance. Fast forward to a small coin show in Topeka, Kansas. The kind of place where retired collectors swap stories over folding tables and vintage briefcases. Among them was Daniel Meyer, a quiet man with an eye for anomalies. He wasn't in it for the profit. For him, the joy was in the nuance. In studying slight shifts in design, the silent language of minting errors. He browsed a dealer's tray of copper pennies, most dull with time, some gleaming artificially. But one caught his eye, not because of shine or condition, but because of Lincoln's face. There was something off. He leaned in closer. Lincoln's jaw looked swollen. The cheek appeared doubled, and not in the soft, blurry way that worn dies create. This was bold, clean, almost as if a second profile had been ghosted onto the first. He flipped the coin and examined the reverse. The Lincoln Memorial looked standard. But back to the obverse, the doubling was undeniable, especially in the area around Lincoln's ear, jawline, and throat. He made the purchase for $2. Back home, Daniel examined the coin under a microscope. His hands trembled slightly, more from age than excitement. But when he zoomed into Lincoln's portrait, the hairline doubling was crisp. This wasn't machine doubling. This was a true double die, an error caused not during striking, but in the creation of the die itself. Specifically, it appeared the die had shifted between impressions during the hubbing process, resulting in a misaligned image of Lincoln's profile being transferred to every coin it struck. In the numismatic world, the 1984 double die obverse is something of a legend. But Daniel hadn't expected to stumble upon one in circulated condition, let alone with such strong, visible doubling. The error was especially vivid in this specimen. The ear, chin, and throat bore nearly shadow-like impressions. He knew what he had. He submitted the coin for grading. The weight was difficult. He tried not to get too hopeful. But when the envelope returned from the grading service, the label confirmed it. 1984 Lincoln Cent, double die obverse, strong jaw doubling, MS62 red-brown, certified. Word spread quickly. Collectors were well aware of the 1984 double die variety, but few had seen it this bold. The most famous examples show pronounced doubling on Lincoln's ear, with some also displaying distortion in the eye, chin, and jawline. The mint had never officially acknowledged how many of these errors escaped into circulation, but estimates suggested fewer than a few thousand survived in collectible condition. Daniel's coin quickly became a point of interest. A prominent numismatic blog featured his story. Forums lit up with comparisons. Other collectors posted their 1984 cents, hoping to match the doubling. Most didn't. Some came close. But Daniel stood out as one of the clearest and cleanest examples documented. A buyer reached out, offering $18,000. He declined. Then came an offer from a major East Coast collector, a man who had been assembling a complete registry of Lincoln Cent errors. He offered to fly in and examine the coin personally. When he did, he confirmed it, one of the finest raw examples he had ever seen. A deal was arranged discreetly. The coin sold $4.62,000. Years later, that same coin resurfaced in an elite auction, graded a full MS64 red. It fetched $97,500. What made this error so captivating was not just the doubling, but how distinct and human it looked. Lincoln's second jawline almost seemed like a second shadow, a mistake immortalized in metal. It's a reminder of the unpredictability of even the most controlled processes. The 1984 double die penny now stands as one of the most sought-after error coins from the modern era. While many still search for it in coin rolls and collections, few find examples with the boldness and clarity of Daniel's discovery. For most, it's a ghost hidden in pocket change. But for those lucky enough to uncover it, it's a treasure disguised as the most ordinary of things. Today, the value of a certified 1984 double die Lincoln Cent ranges between $55,000 and $105,000 depending on condition, strike, and visibility of the error. It's not just a coin, it's a historical whisper, a fluke of the mint that became a masterpiece of the unexpected.